For example, if you've been avoiding anger because you're taught that it's bad, your shadow might be holding onto it for you. And exploring that doesn't mean that you're going to become a raging monster. It means that you're learning how to channel that anger in a healthy way. Shadow work isn't scary, it's liberating. Myth number 2, shadow work is only for trauma. Another common myth is that shadow work is only for people with big, dramatic trauma. Look, if you've experienced trauma, shadow work can absolutely help. But it's not just for that. Shadow work is for anyone who wants to understand themselves better and stop getting in their own mother-loving way. The wrong we were taught went something like this. You gotta struggle hard and life's a bitch. She threw you as a shovel to dig your own ditch. But looking back at my life, I wouldn't change shit. The world is divided into a billion pieces. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Sundays in the Shadows, a space for the bold, the brave, and the unfuckwittable. I am Mark, your guide to turning pain into power and darkness into unshakable joy. Today, we're talking about some of the biggest myths about shadow work. Spoiler alert! It's not as scary or woo-woo as people think it is. If you've been curious about shadow work, but feeling hesitant, this episode is for you. We'll break down the misconceptions, get real about what shadow work is and isn't, and give you some practical tips to start exploring your shadow without fear. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Myth number 1, shadow work is scary. Let's address the first big myth. Shadow work is terrifying. People hear shadow and immediately think of horror movies, demons, or some creepy dark force. But here's the truth. Your shadow isn't out to get you. It can if you allow it. But it's just parts of yourself that you've hidden because at some point you thought that they weren't acceptable. Think of it about going through an old storage box in your closet. Yeah, it might be dusty and you might find some embarrassing shit in there, but you also find treasures that you forgot about. Shadow work is about reclaiming those parts of yourself so that you can feel whole again. For example, if you've been avoiding anger because you're taught that it's bad, your shadow might be holding onto it for you. And exploring that doesn't mean that you're going to become a raging monster. It means that you're learning how to channel that anger in a healthy way. Shadow work isn't scary, it's liberating. Myth number 2, shadow work is only for trauma. Another common myth is that shadow work is only for people with big, dramatic trauma. Look, if you've experienced trauma, shadow work can absolutely help. But it's not just for that. Shadow work is for anyone who wants to understand themselves better and stop getting in their own mother-loving way. Your shadow could be tied to smaller things like feeling jealous of a coworker or snapping at a partner over something silly like, why'd you eat all the peanut butter, bitch? You know I love that shit. These are everyday moments where your shadow might be showing up. You don't have to have some huge life-altering event to benefit from exploring the shadow. For me, a lot of the shadow work started with these smaller triggers like, why did my coworkers laugh piss me off so much? Turns out it wasn't about them, it was about me not feeling like I deserved to be happy. So stop fucking laughing like a hyena, motherfucker. The more you notice these patterns, the more you can shift them. Myth number 3, shadow work is about fixing yourself. The third myth is a big one. Shadow work is about fixing yourself. Newsflash, you're not broken. So shadow work isn't about becoming perfect or erasing the parts of you that feel messy. It's about accepting all of you, the good, the bad, and the awkward. Here's the deal. Those parts of you that you've been trying to hide are often the source of your greatest strengths. Your fear might be hiding your courage. Your anger might be hiding your passion. Shadow work helps you integrate those parts so that you can show up fully and authentically. When I stopped trying to fix myself and started learning to accept myself, everything changed. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you really are, Mother Lover Jones. So now that we busted some myths, let's talk about how you can start exploring your shadow in a way that feels safe and approachable. Here are 3 simple tips to get you started. Number 1. Start noticing your triggers. When something or someone annoys you, pause and ask yourself, what's really bothering me here? Is it about them or is it about me? Number 2, journal about your reactions at the end of each day. Write down one thing that triggered you and explore what it might be trying to teach you. Awareness is the first step to change. Number 3, be kind to yourself. Shadow work isn't about judging yourself for having flaws. It's about getting curious and compassionate. Remember, you're human, and humans are beautifully messy. Start small and take it one step at a time. The goal isn't to dive into the deep end all at once. It's to build a relationship with your shadow over time. This week, I want you to notice one thing that triggers you. Instead of reacting, pause and ask yourself, what's underneath this? What is this trying to teach me? Even just asking the question can open up insights. Next week, we'll dive into how to use shadow work to strengthen your relationships. Until then, keep noticing, keep reflecting, and keep growing. Thank you for investing your time with me today. If you found this episode helpful, share it with someone who might benefit from it also. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so we can keep building this space together. Until next Sunday, laugh when it's ridiculous, cry when it's real, and heal because you are worth it. And also remember, nobody's coming to save you. So it's up to you to learn how to fish yourself out of the fuckery. Love ya. Even if I got the chance, I would have started this life.